The reason there are separate categories for men and women is that when women competed openly with men, they were too good. This is actually why women's football was abolished by the Football Association in the 20s, was because women were too good. And if you put them on the same team, men got upset.
Hi, everybody. Auntie speaks. Yes, you heard that right. Men and women's sports are separated because those darn women are just so good that they're going to beat all the men. This is Zoe Williams. She is a writer for The Guardian, one of the largest publications in Britain. Now, this is a debate on if trans rights are trampling over women's rights. Now, this is a longer video, so please watch to the end because the end stuff is super, super crazy.
Is prioritising trans inclusion detrimental to women's rights, making a push to use more gender-neutral terms like everyone with a cervix, people who menstruate, menstruators, non-men, rather than women?
I think we're looking at this from the wrong angle, to be honest. Women and trans people do not have to see their rights as in opposition. Feminists don't all think one thing. I definitely don't agree with, so much of the anti-trans language is about this idea of a feminist, uniting a whole spectrum of opinion, a single opinion in which trans people are here and women are here. No feminists I know think like that. And specifically on the language, you've got to bear in mind, I don't think, again, no woman I've ever met would mind being called a woman or a person with a womb. It's like, who cares? It's not a deal breaker. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to have our entire existence on the face of the planet reduced to our womb. It's not a big deal. It's not offensive at all. That has got to be the craziest thing that I have ever heard. So this is what the left truly believes. And I'm sure that this lady is trying to be nice. She's trying to be inclusive. Number one, she didn't answer it for like 15 minutes. She went on a diatribe about how all feminists don't agree or all women don't agree. Well, duh. Nobody ever all agrees. But redefining half of the population of the planet Earth to accommodate a very, very small minority of people, that seems a little crazy to most of us. And it seems offensive. And I hate that word, offensive.
If someone called me a menstruator, I'd slap them in the gob because that is not not all women menstruate. I actually don't think it's funny. I think that there is a kind of a history of women being kept separate from public life on the basis of us being defined by our bodily functions. This morning, Oxfam has released a video set with a grimacing, hag, witch-faced woman with a badge that says TERF on it, pointing at a group of LGBTQI plus people. The demonisation, I've never seen such demonisation of women, in the long history of sexism. It's quite remarkable.
Can I come back on a couple of things? Firstly, this comes up so many times and again. People say this is about the right of women to choose what women can do. That relies on us all agreeing with each other. If women are allowed to choose what a female space is, I'm allowed to choose just as much as you are.
Of course you can.
Yeah, and I say trans women are welcome.
Fine. That's your rules.
And secondly, again, you come back to this thing. I'm doing a disservice to the NHS. I'm gaslighting. I'm doing this. You've got to be able to accept that people can disagree and still be. Not everybody thinks a woman-only space is this or that. You've got to be able to kind of, encompass a wide variety of views within a gender without thinking that that's a kind of threat of erasure, because it really, really isn't.
Okay, so this second lady is, I suppose, coming from a more, they would say conservative view, but I would say what the general public believes, which is, you can't do this. You can't just destroy the meaning of the word woman. That's not okay. And then this Zoe lady comes in and says, well, you have to accept that people disagree. And we have to build our society around people disagreeing? That's how you think we build society? No, we build society for the majority of situations. We don't redefine all language, all personal spaces, all locker rooms, all bathrooms, all sports, because your feelings are hurt.
Now, to prisons, because there's a lot of debate around whether males who transition to females should be sent to women's only prisons. We've seen cases like that of Isla Bryson, who was found guilty of rape and then sent to an all-female jail. There was also the case of Karen White, who sexually assaulted 2 women while in custody.
You know, this is absolutely classic gaslighting. In fact, the idea of like that there's a huge population of trans women prisoners in the female estate, and they pose this terrible threat to women in the female estate is completely fanciful.
This lady is the dumbest box of rocks I think I've ever seen. Okay, lady. Yeah, it's just 2 people? Is it just 2 people? Is it really? And are we really talking about trans people? I agree with you. Most trans people are just trying to live their life. They are just trying to get by. But you do have a large segment of the male population who, well, I don't know, might want to try to get out of a male prison by saying that they're a female? No, that would never happen. Let's see. What do we got here? Okay. California's female prisoners feel threatened by transgender inmates. The state doesn't care. Yeah, we don't care about females. And we're not, the females don't matter. We only care about trans now. Isn't that lovely? Here we go. This is the Western Journal. No one's listening as transgender inmates end up in women's prisons, take part in shocking assaults on female prisoners. After hundreds of male inmates who identify as females requested to be transferred to the women's prisons in California, many female inmates have become victims of assault at the hands of those transfers. Yeah, here we go. So there was one specific gentleman. He was assaulted in a male prison, and he sued California to be transferred to a women's prison. And here's what happened. It is documented he sued the state over it and has transferred, and within weeks had attacked his female cellmate. And then they took him away and put him, in a different jail, administrative segregation for a couple of weeks. And then they dumped him in a different yard. Last fall, Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom signed legislation that allows incarcerated transgender, non-binary, and intersex people to choose if they want to be housed in a male or female prison. Yeah? Yeah. By April, there has been 261 requests to be transferred. And of the people who requested it, as far as I know, none have been denied. So you don't even need to say you're a girl. You just need to say you're non-binary and you move to a female prison. Doesn't matter that you might be in that prison for assault against the females of the world. We live in crazy town, and this lady is right at the center of that crazy town.
There's also a debate around toilets, changing rooms too.
I just think you lot are being played, honestly. I mean, 20 years ago, we never cared about who used what toilet. We've all been in a women's toilet, right? They're in cubicles. What's it to you who's in the next cubicle?
Yeah, there's no problem here. No. It's if a man in a dress who has a penis is sitting in the stall next to you, there's nothing wrong. Oh. I I seem to remember that case. Oh yeah, that was just a little bit ago. Yep, uh-huh. Oh, Wispa. Yeah, sex offender? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, there was that one. Well, there's nothing to see here. There's no problem whatsoever. And if you don't want a man in a dress in your changing room, then you are a bigot. You are a bigot.
The debate around sport and transgender athletes has really raised a lot of concern.
For the most part, we understand that men can jump higher, run faster. And so for fairness, for women, we created a separate category so that we're not always losing to men. That seems to me to be pretty sensible.
The reason there are separate categories for men and women is that when women competed openly with men, they were too good. This is actually why women's football was abolished by the Football Association in the 20s, was because women were too good. And if you put them on the same team, men got upset. And that has been the evolution of male and female sports peeling apart.
That's a
You look very sceptical, but it's true. Nobody's saying we're exactly the same. But actually,
if you have trans women, they have so much higher levels of testosterone. They are stronger. They are faster.
That's actually not,
they are
that's
always
actually not true.
If
That's actually
you
not true. No, it's really not. Because
my
actually
God.
you can't compete in the female
There
category
would
until
be-
you've got testosterone levels below a certain level, which I know
puberty?
you both know.
When you go through puberty, your bones grow a certain way differently.
Okay,
your,
fine.
You know, your
Look,
chest
Ella,
broadens
I can
out.
Did you hear that last part? Where you have these two other ladies going, I mean, come on. I mean, it's like saying the sky is green. And she thinks she can convince people of this. And then when the lady to the left says, okay, if you go through puberty, you're taller, you're stronger, your everything is different. She goes, well, okay. Which completely negates her first crazy point of we have split between male and female sports because women are better. Are they better? Are they really? Should we look at some things? Let's look. Okay, so let's see what we can see. Yeah. There's no difference between those two individuals either. Nope. Oh, yeah, nothing different between those two. That's rugby. Yep. Of course, there's Leah Thomas, who was like mid-pack collegiate level until they decided they're a girl to beat all the girls. Yep. Here's one of my favorites. It is ranking of women's best all-time scores versus teenage boys. Yes, teenage boys. Yes. Here's the women's national soccer team being beat out by a bunch of 15-year-olds. These are the women who won whatever it's called, the world or whatever. And there's a couple others here. Let's take a look.
But yeah, I just kind of couldn't match, Austin and some of the single track and, the power. It's just not comparable. So kind of got gapped maybe 50 miles, and then from there was kind of alone a lot of the time.
And Andrea Yearwood smoked the competition at last week's state championships for track and field.
Weekend. Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood are both transgender high school sprinters, transitioning to female. They took home first and second place, respectively.
Yeah, make the point. Men are stronger than women, and everybody knows it. Let's wrap this up.
Useful about all these headlines, put them together, is just being able to see how much trans people are being demonized and the issue is being weaponized. And the papers are talking about them constantly. And can you imagine how much what that would feel like? Can you just imagine for a second how it would feel when every time you open a newspaper, you are this gigantic social problem and your identity is causing a problem for society?
If you're saying that any discussion of things like removing the word mother and turning it into pregnant person, or that any discussion about women's spaces and women's rights is an attack on trans people, or is being weaponized as an attack on trans people, and that women should kind of zip it.
I honestly think that this is like, it's become a fixation, and it's not because anybody cares about cycling, and it's not because anybody cares about athletics. It's
women, shut up. That is basically what this woman is saying. She's saying any discussion about women feeling uncomfortable with a man wearing a dress, coming into a woman's locker room, trying to compete against men, men in bathrooms, all of this stuff, any discussion of it is transphobic. So women, shut up. This is the ideology that we have to fight. We have to look all of these people in the eye and say, you, my dear, are wrong. And your ideas are crazy and dangerous. And this last little bit, I love this. Who cares about cycling? Nobody cares about cycling. Lady, just because you don't care about cycling and all of these other sports doesn't mean that the rest of us don't. Some of us played sports from beginning until end, and women work day after day after day after day to be better at their sport. And walking onto a track and seeing a man standing next to you and knowing at the beginning of that race that you are going to lose is not fair. Okay, guys, please like, comment, and share. We have got to get the message out. These are the people that we need to fight. This is the ideology that we need to quash. Women have a right to exist. We have a right to our own spaces. We have a right to our own sports. Thank you very much. I will see you on the next one.